Okay, so I'm going to try to explain how cryptocurrency and Bitcoin and these other coins are gaining steam and potentially have the ability to revolutionize money. The truth of the matter is the government just can't be trusted. We're $32 trillion in debt, and the demographics of the United States of America are not favorable. There's more people that are retiring every day. There's a bunch of baby boomers who are going to be leaving the workforce. The tax base is shrinking, and they have all these commitments, Social Security, Medicare, Medicaid, and a whole litany of other things that people are pensions, government pensions, that, by the way, they don't offer those now. I mean, the government still does in some capacity, but private employers don't offer that anymore. So that has gone away because they realize it's not a profitable thing to be offering pensions to people for the rest of their life. Shocker. So the only way out of it is to inflate the currency, right? They do issue debt, and people are buying the debt, I guess, but the real only solution to getting out of $32 trillion in debt is to inflate away your currency and pay back what you owe with a devalued currency. So that's what I think is going to happen. It's just a matter of time before they do that. You can't get out of that hole without really devaluing the money and printing more of it. The issue with that is that, there used to be a middle class in America and in other potentially other places of the world as well. But America in the 50s, 60s, big middle class, family structure, people could afford a home. Now it's kind of like there's a rich class of people that are in the top, maybe 10 or 20%. And then there's like the bottom 80% of people that are just the working class. They're not really the middle class anymore. And the working class is people that, they work for a salary or a wage, and their earning potential is lagging inflation. So every year that they continue to work, they actually make less money on a cost-adjusted basis with inflation. So their purchasing power goes down every year. And what does that mean? It just means, hey, they don't own any assets. They're not a homeowner. They don't have probably a bunch of money in the stock market. And the price of rent goes up every year. The price of food goes up every year. The price of electricity, the price of utilities, the price of gasoline, everything, right? It goes up to the point where the average consumer is getting pinched. And that's why you're seeing credit card debt, because they cannot sustain the lifestyle they're having on the income that they have. Because every year, the real cost of living goes up 10+% probably. And their wages go up maybe 3%, maybe 5%. If you're lucky, maybe even 7%. And some people can make more money, right? That's not a problem for some people. But most people, I would say, every year they're getting poorer. And, if you take a step back, it's like, hey, I'm not going to be able to change this, right? Like I can't work. There's only a limited amount of hours I can work in a day. And I can't really double my income in a year. So that's another question of, you got to kind of evaluate what you're doing. You can always live beneath your means if you're a simple person. That's why a lot of people are not getting married or avoiding doing big decisions in terms of wanting to buy a house. A lot of people simply just can't buy a house because interest rates are high and prices are still very high. But so that's one way you can make it is, hey, I'm going to be frugal. I might not make a ton of money, but I'm not going to spend a lot. I'm going to save. I'm going to put some of it into a 401k or a retirement plan for the future. And I'm going to try to save like a really healthy amount of the money that I'm earning, right? Even if it's not a lot of money, if you have enough time, that money can compound and work wonders for you. However, $1 million, $2 million, is it really going to be enough in 30 years if you look at the real value of what $1 million is or $2 million is in 30 years? Again, if you live a simple life and you spend a lot less than you make, you're probably going to be okay. But a lot of people, they maybe want to have a family, they maybe want to have a house, they want to have a decent car. They have things that cost money. And if you don't make enough money, you know, that it's going to be difficult to achieve all those things. For example, let's say that you had $1 million, which I would say most people don't. And if they do have $1 million, they don't have it liquid. They have that's their net worth, maybe it's their house, or, you know, everything that they own, investment accounts, all this. But let's say that you had $1 million in cash in the bank account. If you put that now into a money market account, or like a 5% 10-year bond, or 5% 2-year bond, whatever it is, 4 to 5%, let's just say it's 5%. Every year you're going to get $50,000 in passive income, or that's what your $1 million is earning you. So it's about $4,000 a month that you'll get in income off $1 million. Can you retire off that? Yeah, you probably could, in addition to Social Security or whatever it is. So you have $4,000 plus the average Social Security payments, maybe like $2,000, $1,500 to $2,000. You know, you could live off of that. You're probably not going to be doing everything you want to do, but $6,000 a month is, you know, probably more than a lot of the country makes in just a income per month. But how many people have $1 million that is just sitting there earning them interest? Not many people. Even if you have $100,000, you know, that's 1/10 of that money. So $100,000 that you're just letting work for you, if you have it in a bond or in a money market, is going to be $4,000 or $5,000 a year, not a month, a year. So you're going to be making $400 a month. That's not even a needle mover. It's not going to change anything. So that's the issue. And so people can't really afford to retire unless you're unless you were very responsible and you saved your money and you did delayed gratification, where you were not spending a lot, you were putting a lot towards retirement, you were investing it in a 401k, you were delaying using the money today. But if I do an analysis, it's like, hey, if I stay at this place for 30 years, you can kind of see how much money you're going to have. And you can see that the only way it's going to work is if you're very, very frugal. So again, that is an option, and that can work if you're disciplined and you again, probably don't have a big family, probably maybe don't even have a family at all. You might be able to be a homeowner, but you got to do it in a part of the country where the housing prices are much lower, probably in the Midwest or in the South, Southwest, Southeast. Not Florida, but the Southeast, somewhere down there, Texas maybe, where you can get a decent house for well under 400 or 500,000. But most people just cannot qualify for a home. You know, with an 8% interest rate, you know, you have to have $50,000, $80,000, $100,000 down to cover the 20%, and then your monthly payment is still very high, right? People still cannot afford can afford that monthly payment. So what are people going to do? Well, they have no trust really in the government. The government is very deceptive, and they do things that are not in the interest of the citizens. You know, it's very sad to hear about people that basically never retired. They worked their entire life for 40-something years. Maybe they had a house, but maybe they didn't, and they have nothing left. You know, you hear stories of people that their parents die, and then they're like, but they didn't have anything. You know, maybe the last little bit of money they had was spent on living in a assisted living or just healthcare expenses that, you know, they had to pay for. So that is a hamster wheel that people now, I think, are realizing, I don't want to run in that wheel anymore. Like, I'm working. I'm not really feeling myself getting ahead. And if I continue to do this, I can see that I'm going to be inflated away, meaning that the government is just going to print more money, and it's going to result in what I have saved up being worth less, right? Unless I have my money in real estate or in like a big, well-diversified portfolio of investments, which most people don't. They get paid $5,000 a month, $6,000 a month, maybe even less. Half of that immediately. Well, okay, 20% of that immediately taxes. So let's say you have $5,000 a month to use in real money. Half of that's going immediately to rent and just basic expenses, you know, utility bill, electricity, food, gasoline for driving a car. Let's say you don't have a car, okay? You still have to pay to get around, Uber, train, you know, you're paying some money a month to move yourself. So that's gonna be about half of that money every month. If you make about close to $100,000 a year, you know, you're getting about 60 to 70 in real money. So about half of it's just gonna be gone immediately. Now, that doesn't assume that you have a student loan debt or that you have a car payment or that you have any other unexpected expenses. Hospital, you gotta go buy a suit, you gotta go buy clothes, you gotta go, someone dies and you gotta go travel. I mean, that's why you see credit cards. People don't have the money. They have to do things, but they don't have the money, so they put it on credit. And a lot of these credit cards are very, I think the word is usury, right? They're taking advantage of people. Credit card interest rate 20%, 30%. And people, you know, at the beginning, it might be a small balance, but after a while, they keep charging stuff on their credit card and they're just making minimum payments. So it's kind of like you keep digging a hole down, you keep digging a hole down. In the beginning, it's not that bad because you're still kind of close to the ground. But after a couple years, it's like, you know that movie Holes? We read that book when we were in school. Before you know it, you're like 6 feet deep in a hole because you've been digging for 2 years. And it's like, well, how the hell am I going to get out of this? It's difficult, right? So people, they can't get out of it. And that's kind of the issue. So where do you put your money? Again, it's kind of a roundabout way of saying that's the whole kind of situation for most people. Again, if you're someone that has a different situation and you have the ability to earn more money, you're probably not in that boat. But I would say at least half of America is in that boat where their income potential is kind of fixed. Their expenses are not fixed. They're maybe fixed on a month-over-month basis, but they go up every year by 10%, usually more. And if they put any of their money into, if they don't invest it or if they don't have real estate, it's like, what do I do? How am I supposed to protect some of this earnings or some of these earnings that I have? The dollar gets inflated away. Bonds make less than inflation. The stock market is, you know, on a good year, 10%. But again, inflation is probably right around 10% right now, and it might even be higher. So if you're making 7 to 10%, you're really just maintaining what you have. You're not losing, but you're not winning. And that's why things like cryptocurrency are attractive or gaining steam, because yes, you have the ability to lose a lot of your money. It's very volatile, but it's not, and again, some of these are bad, maybe, the cryptocurrencies, but some of them, hey, it's a better system. It takes the human element or the government control element out of it. It's a rules-based system, you know, and it actually functions more effectively than, you know, central banks. You know, even if you live, everyone wants our currency in the United States, right? That's like what they want to save their money in. You go to like different countries where the inflation rate is 50% a year, 100% a year. What are they supposed to do, right? We have a pretty good situation in the United States compared to other countries. But imagine if you live in one of these countries, South America, or some of these countries that just have really, really high inflation, Turkey. What are you supposed to do? If you leave your money in paper, or if you just have, you make your earnings and you leave it in the bank or whatever bank account in your peso or whatever your currency is, the lira, the government's stealing half of your money or 100% of it. Not 100%, but half of it or 80% of it every year because they just print more money. So a loaf of bread used to cost 20 pesos. Now it's 40 pesos. You get the point, right? You can't get out of that. So no one wants to hold that currency, and they're looking for avenues and how they can deploy it to make a decent return. You can't afford a house. It's too expensive, okay? Yes, you could put your money in the stock market, but that's why cryptocurrency is catching on, because people are sick of, you save your money and then you can never get ahead. You have to put it in something that is going to appreciate over time and hold its value and be an asset. And again, is it kind of gambling a little bit? Yes, but everything is. You know that you're going to have a losing bet. It's like making a bet on sports, right? You would never take the team that was down, 60-0 in college football. It's impossible. They're not going to come back. So if you took that team to win, you'd be an idiot, right? That's kind of like what it is to just leave your money in currency. It's like there is a 0% chance you're going to win. 0, right? No matter what price they're giving you on if it's going to happen, they're not going to come back 60-0 when there's 2 minutes left in the fourth quarter. It's not going to happen, right? But they'll still offer you a price. They probably wouldn't, but you get what I'm saying. If you leave your money in currency, you're guaranteed to be a loser. Or if you leave it in the bank account, it is guaranteed to lose value every day, every month, every year. You might mentally feel good about having some money in the bank, but in reality, you're losing money because everything's more expensive. So your money has to be working for you every single day, or else you are in a worse off position. I didn't realize that until a few years ago, probably around COVID, really, just because everything, you could see how much more everything cost. And if you weren't actively doing things to combat the raising cost of things, you were priced out and your money didn't go as far. So that's why I think cryptocurrency has a chance. How many times do you have to lose, in currency or being priced out of real estate to realize this isn't working? Even if cryptocurrency does bad, I know for certain if I do these other things, I'm going to be a loser. If I keep my money in the bank, if I really don't invest that much, if I continue to rent and can never save my money, you're guaranteed to lose. You're never going to get ahead, right? So you have to go out a little bit further on the risk curve and do things that potentially have a big return. Again, it could go down or it could be negative. It could be permanently negative. But 100%, if you stay on the path of what you're doing, you know that your outcome is going to be bad. We know that. We know that if you just save your money, it's going to be bad for you. You're not going to get rewarded. You're going to get inflated away. You're never going to be able to earn more than inflation. And your standard of quality of life, standard of living is going to be middle of the road to low, right? Because you just can't make enough money to out-earn inflation. So let me know what you think on that. Again, I know I'm just kind of rambling on it, but you see all these videos online, and that's kind of I think that's the reason why people are considering other things. They're considering other things because the normal path that people thought was going to work, or that maybe worked a couple generations ago, is just not working. So let me know what you think. Have a good one.